Hello everyone, this is DrEvilGenius, and I'm back again with another voiceover from Epoch of Disharmony. This time we will be doing the first post of Annie from Illumination. Ollie, this one's for you, brother. Illumination. Lost Woods. Dawn of the 6th day. Annie. Annie stood in awe, sword held up to the light filtering down through the trees, examining and admiring the gorgeous piece of weaponry she had found. She inspected the double-edged blade's curious markings. The blade was pure white, with a huge crossguard like an angelic pair of wings. The hilt was the only part that wasn't white. It was instead jet black. Just holding the sword, she felt powerful magic surging, but had no idea of its strength or of how to use it. She swung it a few times, and despite the sword's size, it felt light and easy to control. She felt an upwelling of pride at her discovery. However, something was still gnawing at Annie. Where did this sword come from? What was it doing here? Deciding to explore the temple in which she found it, she stuck the sword into the ground. The instant the blade dug into the soil, a series of massive shockwaves went out across the ground, appearing as purple streaks of electricity traveling out from the sword, and the earth began to tremble. The entire area shook. Trees fell, chasms opened up, and the earth heaved. Forest creatures collapsed into gelatinous piles before her eyes. And then, suddenly, everything went quiet again. The entire quake was just a few seconds. Through all of this, Anne was untouched. She hadn't so much as moved. "What in the goddess's name was that?" she exclaimed. She was frightened half to death by the tremor, but that wasn't what truly scared her. She knew that the Lost Woods were not known for earthquakes. She looked at the sword with trepidation, fearing that she may have unleashed some sort of dark magic. Her fears were only heightened when she saw that a golden symbol, etched into a circle, had suddenly appeared on the blade near the hilt. Running into the temple, she examined the hieroglyphs surrounding the sword's pedestal. The symbol etched in gold on the sword's blade was shown on one of the walls of the temple, and on each of the other walls was a different symbol, also etched in gold in a circle. These symbols were surrounded by other pictures, various images that Anne couldn't make sense of. Annie grabbed a pen out of her pocket and began to scribble some of the symbols down on the back of her map. "These symbols! It seems like they have some sort of magical property, but I can't understand any of this. And how do I know what kind of magic this is? I need to know more before I—" The distant sound of crunching leaves warned Annie of someone approaching outside the temple, and she peered out the entrance to see who could be coming. She spotted what appeared to be an armed thief approaching the sword she had stuck in the ground. "No, no, no, this can't happen!" She watched with dread as the thief approached the sword, knowing that, whatever the source of the sword's power, she had just given it away to someone who would only cause chaos and destruction. All she had was her plain old sword, but that wouldn't do any good against a sword with that sort of magical power. Bravely or stupidly, she jumped out anyway and charged at the thief as he approached, determined to prevent him from taking the sword or die trying. "Hey! Don't you touch that! It's mine!" The thief looked up, saw a young girl charging at him, and smirked. "Well, such a nice sword! Deserves someone who'll put it to good use!" Before she could stop him, he reached out to grab the magical sword. Boom! The thief flew into the air, landing in the leaves on the forest floor 50 feet away. As soon as he had touched the sword, an explosion of sparks had flown through the hilt and sent him flying back. The thief lay stunned, twitching, still alive but completely incapacitated. Anne walked nervously over to the sword. "What is this thing?" Anne asked herself. She reached out, nervously, expecting the sword might react the way it had to the thief. She gingerly placed the very tip of her index finger on the sword and braced herself, but the sword did not react. She grabbed it and pulled it out. "Seriously, this is weird. What in the goddess's name is this sword, and what on earth is it doing here? Has it chosen me, or what? Is this some sort of dark magic?" Part of her wanted to just drop the sword and run, but something deep inside told her not to, and her curiosity was getting the better of her. Maybe Maybe I can find out more about this. What if I went to the library in Kakariko? Or better yet, I could show the symbols to someone in Castletown. Someone there just has to know more. Now I just need to take care of that thief, and maybe do something about carrying this thing, she said, gesturing with the sword. I'll just adjust my sheath strap a little. There we go, she said, sliding the sword into a loop she made in the strap. It was awkward, but it was better than carrying it in hand all the way to Castletown. She walked over to the thief, who had crawled over to a tree and leaned up against it, in too much pain to go anywhere. Now, as for you, sir, I have this new sword, and it would be awfully selfish of me to have two. My old sword is a lot nicer than yours, so here, you can have it. She let the words hang for a second, and then, as the thief looked up, she thrust her old sword through the middle of his chest and into the tree, pinning him there. The thief's eyes bugged out, and he looked incredulously at the sword protruding from his chest. Annie didn't even give him a second look. She walked away, heading for a shortcut into Hyrule Field to get to Castletown. Annie had no tolerance for thugs or thieves. So, there you go, our introduction to Annie. Isn't she just kind of like the nicest little girl you've ever met? Well, we'll see more of her as things progress in Epoch of Disharmony, and see you next time here on YouTube. Take care, everyone.